Hey, Divine Ones, this is Jerome Braggs, and I want to come into another live because I've got more questions to answer. And today's question is actually a really powerful one that I think would benefit all of you all who are listening. So, to the person that sent this one in, thank you so much. I know that, and also please know that the answer to this will probably serve a lot of people. And this is really why I answer the questions that I answer. I really try to pick the ones that are going to the questions to whose answer is going to serve the most people, right? That most of you all may be dealing with, or may get some benefit from hearing it and be able to implement into your own life. So today's question is one of those questions, and I also resonate with this question as well because this question actually touches on a big part of my journey. Hey, Christy. Um, so Today's question, one second, I have to pull it up on my phone, you guys, because I couldn't pull it up on my computer. So give me one second. I'll say today's question says, so I uncovered a deep wound in myself that I am unwanted and unlovable. And this is what I've been manifesting in romantic relationships. I figured the next step to take would be to fix and heal these limited beliefs and change them. So my question is, do I have to heal and fix these limiting beliefs before I can manifest what I desire? Or is it still possible to manifest what I desire while in the process of healing them? Can I still be loved and wanted while I heal this wound? That is just a juicy question. And again, if you've been following my page for a while, you know this is right in kind of my wheelhouse because this was one of the very wounds that I had to heal in my own healing journey, which was feeling unlovable and unwanted. It just touches my heart and resonates with my heart to hear this question. Um, but the answer really is yes, you do. And I want to describe why that is. It's not just a very simple yes, you do, but I want to really help you understand why it's important that we heal our wounds. And remember, wounds are just they're like the definition of a wound is an injury to the being, right? That continues, and if where you're injured in your being is like an injury, it gets infected if you don't heal it. It continues to bleed if you don't heal it, and it will bleed all over, all over your life. And so this is why it's really important to become aware of what your wounds are. And again, your wound is the thing that is the thought and the feelings that you're holding within you that are not in alignment with your truth, that make you feel bad about yourself, that make you feel like something is wrong with you, that make you feel like you're not safe in the world somehow, that make you feel like your needs won't be met in this lifetime. That's a wound because it's disconnecting you from the truth of your soul. It's disconnecting you from the truth of your God self, of who you really are and what you really know, right? And so the thing about this is our beliefs. Like if you believe that you're unlovable or you believe that you're unwanted, your belief begins to set up a state of being, which is what you believe and how you feel about yourself. And your state of being is your point of attraction. That is what determines what gets attracted into your life, what you manifest as your life. Your point of attraction determines who gets to show up in your life and how they get to behave when they get there. Right? So you're literally your internal state of being, which is what you believe and how you feel habitually too, not just what you think, just a thought you just thought 5 seconds ago, or you never think it again, or something you felt for maybe 2 minutes today, but you don't habitually feel it. It's really something you are thinking, a belief, which is a thought you think habitually that you really hold as a truth for you, and a habitual chronic emotional feeling. That sets up your state of being, and that's what the universe is responding to as it manifests your life. That is the filter by which everything kind of comes through. Every relationship, every person, every event, every circumstance, the health state of your body, it's all getting filtered through your state of being. Your internal state of being determines your external one. It literally determines your external one. So when you believe that you're not enough, and you're not lovable, when we believe we're not enough and we're not lovable, we cannot manifest an external life that proves otherwise. Our lives have to be mirror reflections of our internal states, because your internal world, again, your beliefs and and how you feel, which is what we call our vibration, our energy, that's the real world. We've really been taught in our institutions and our systems, we've really been taught something that's really not true. We've been taught that this external world, the stuff that we're feeling and we're touching, the material world and what we see with our eyes, we've really been taught that's the real world. And we've been taught that's the world of causation, right? That the external world is what causes things. It's the cause of what happens. Because this person is doing this, this is why this is showing up. Because this is going on out here, this is why I don't have this, or this is why I do have this. That's actually really not true. When we really understand who you are as a soul, you're literally physical incarnations of God. You're literally an extension of what source energy actually is. Your internal world is the real world. It's what determines everything you live. It's what determines this entire external reality. And so if your internal world is saying, I'm not enough, you cannot manifest an external world that denies or defies that, even though it's not the truth of you, right? And this is the thing about the universe. The universe's main responsibility is to make sure all of your beliefs come true. That's the universe's main responsibility. One is to love you unconditionally, which it does. And then the second one is to make sure all of your beliefs that you hold come true for you. They become a real lived experience. So if I believe, so I spoke a little bit in the beginning about, I know this one very well because this was actually the core belief that I held. That led to my illnesses and led to my near-death experience. But I believed that I was not enough. And I believed particularly I wasn't enough because I grew up as a thicker kid. I was a bigger kid. I wasn't a slim kid. I was a thicker kid. So I got teased for my body size. And I was made to believe that my body was not enough. And because my body was bigger, I was not going to be loved. And I didn't deserve to be loved as I was. Now, how that began to manifest was what I saw this pattern. I used to talk about this a lot. I saw this pattern where I could attract anyone I wanted. Like when I became, an adult and there was somebody I was attracted to or I wanted to date, I could attract anyone I wanted. I could absolutely attract them. So you can have a wound and still attract to yourself. Like you can still attract. But what I found was I could attract anyone I wanted if I no matter how beautiful they were, how beautiful I thought they were, or I thought they were out of my league or whatever. If I really wanted them, I can attract them to me, and I did. But what I found was I could never keep them. And what my pattern was that those relationships usually lasted about 2 weeks. And the other thing was they ended up making me feel even worse about myself at the end of them, right? Because here's the thing about relationships. All relationships must eventually begin to mirror back to us how we feel about ourselves. They must mirror back to us our vibrations some type of way. They have to become mirror reflections of our inner state, of our internal state of being. So my internal state was I was not enough. I was unlovable. And people were rejecting me. So that was what I constantly continued to manifest, even though I was attracting people to be in relationships with. In the beginning, everybody was saying how beautiful I was or how marvelous they thought I was. But eventually the end result and the outcome always was some type of, some degree of just external manifestation of my internal wound. Right? I left all of those relationships feeling more not enough. And that's what, when you're going to manifest from your relationships. I've talked a lot about this before, about how the wound is, again, it's the filter. So you want a relationship, the universe says yes, but the relationship has to come through this filter because the universal energy comes through you to manifest your desires. It doesn't come outside of you to manifest, it comes through you. So if inside of you you have this belief that I'm not enough, then then the relationship comes through that belief, and it mirrors that belief back to you. So if you think you're unlovable and unwanted, then you're going to continue to manifest relationships that affirm that, and they'll be the same type of relationship, but just in different bodies. It'll be the same type of person, but just in a different body over and over and over again. And what most people will do is say, well, this person is going to be different because this person has more education, or this person doesn't live in the same area, or, this person is this. And then eventually what they find is it becomes the same type of pattern, right? And all that's happening is you're not being punished. It's not that you don't deserve. It's just that the way that the universe is set up is all the relationships that you're in must begin to mirror you. And if you have a wound within you that says, I'm not enough, then that's what that relationship must begin to mirror. Now, the second part of your question was, can you attract to yourself while you're working on the wound? And that's the beautiful thing about relationships as well. You absolutely can attract someone to you, but no, you're attracting them from the space of feeling not enough. So they're going to start to show you, they're going to behave in some types of ways that are going to make you feel that way. But take that as a gift. Take that as, instead of taking it as when it starts in the beginning, unless it's like physical abuse, like violence against the body, you want to remove yourself from that immediately. But if you're starting to feel, how it would start for me, for example, was in the first few days of the relationship, it just seemed like heaven. Like the person was just everything I would ask for. Our relationship was going extremely well. I thought this was the answer, even though I had done no work to really heal my wounds. But I thought this was everything and this was going to work out. And then all of a sudden they would stop calling me. Like they would go several days without like returning a call, and I wouldn't hear from them for like maybe 4 days would go by and I didn't hear from them, or maybe a week and I didn't hear from them. And during that time I would feel like, again, it would hit my little trigger that said something's wrong with me. Right. And when I recognized this pattern was happening, it took me a long time, by the way, to recognize this as a pattern. But when I recognized this pattern was happening, that what I did to heal this was I looked and I saw it. And instead of just ending the relationship right there, like I used to before, I was like, you're not going to call me, or I don't have to take this type of thing. I owned it, and I said, this is just a reflection of how I'm feeling about myself. This is just my wound. This person has come to show me that I still haven't healed, and this is helping me heal. So I'm going to use this to help me heal. And instead of running away from my wound or denying it or not doing the work, I'm going to change my beliefs now, and I'm going to begin to feel that I'm enough. And one very simple, and a lot of times healing is very simple. It doesn't have to be as complex as sometimes we make it. But one thing that you can do when you feel unwanted and unlovable, that's very simple. Like, I'll give you 2 very simple exercises that worked for me. One is literally write "I am enough" on every mirror in your house. Every single mirror, like write it with lipstick, or get a card or something and tape it up to the mirror or whatever. But I am enough just as I am. Write that down on every mirror in the house, and every time you pass a mirror, stop at that mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and say it out loud to yourself. I am enough just as I am. I am enough just as I am. Every mirror, even on the car, in the rearview mirror, put a little card up there that says I am enough. So every time you look at the mirror, every time you are looking at yourself, you are beginning to put in the mental message into your consciousness that I am enough. I am beautiful enough. I am sexy enough. I am lovable enough just as I am. And I deserve love just as I am. Just that, just affirming that you're enough just as you are, begins to shift how you begin to feel about yourself. The other thing that I would suggest you do is to keep an appreciation journal. and writing this appreciation journal every night. 10 things that you appreciate about yourself. And usually when it's, and especially whatever the wound is around not being enough. So if it's not being enough around your looks, you want to appreciate 10 things about your looks. If you don't think you're enough because you're not smart enough, or your personality's not enough, or whatever it is, use that area, right? So what I did was I literally kept a book, a journal, and I would write down every night 10 things that I really appreciated and I celebrated and I loved about my body, right? So I would say, I love my skin tone. I love my hands. I love my smile. And then I would say why I love them. You know, I love my hands because I think they're really sexy and they're really big, and I just like the veins in them, and I just think I think I have great hands. And I love my smile. It's really wide and big, and I get a lot of compliments on it. I love my skin tone. It's very even and brown. And the more you do that, and try to write 10 different things, you know, every night. Just 10 things, right? Every night that you love about yourself, that you celebrate about yourself. And that, because what it begins to do is a lot of times when we feel unlovable and unwanted, what we've been doing is we've just been rehearsing for a long time. And it's usually not our fault why we started. It's usually either some trauma we received in our childhood, you know, some socialization we may have received in our childhood. Just like I said, in my childhood, I got teased a lot because I was a bigger kid. I was usually a bigger kid than my peers, so I got teased a lot. So that's how that kind of started. And so it's not usually your fault why it started, but it is your responsibility because you've embodied it and you've continued to rehearse these messages. And you just have internal tapes running about what's wrong with you instead of what's right with you. You're looking at the things you think are flaws and the things that you think make you unlovable, instead of placing most of your focus on what actually is good about you, what actually is beautiful about you, what actually is sexy about you, what you celebrate about yourself, what's going well with you. You have to just train your focus differently and begin to just kind of have, like, you know, the horses have those blinders on. You have to put blinders on yourself and refuse to look at the things that you used to look at yourself that made you feel like you're unlovable and unwanted and not enough, and begin to only focus on the things that make you feel like you're enough and you're lovable and you deserve what you want. And that will begin to shift your internal state. Remember, your external state is only a reflection of your internal state. And so when you begin to start to feel and believe that I am enough, and you start to say, yeah, I'm enough. You know, I've got great skin. I'm sexy. I'm a really smart person. I've got these gifts and these talents, and I'm a good dresser, or I love that, whatever it is for you, right? Whatever comes out in your personal journal, as you begin to practice that and get in the habit of only looking for the good things in you, you start to vibrate differently. You start to feel more appreciative of yourself, and you're more celebratory of yourself. And this is a universal law. The better you feel about yourself, the better your life will get. The better you feel about yourself, the better you must live in your life. That is universal law across the board, no matter who you are. And so you can attract a relationship, right? But again, you'll be attracting it from the wound. You'll be attracting it from the wound, but use that relationship to help you heal the wound, right? Know whenever it triggers it, that it doesn't mean that you're not enough. Even though they may say something or maybe do something, it doesn't mean that you're not wanted. It just, all they're doing is reflecting back to you what you feel about yourself. And now it's time to change it. But you cannot, to answer your question, you cannot manifest a relationship that only makes you feel enough, that only makes you feel worthy and lovable, that only makes you feel beautiful and sexy, and that only uplifts you throughout the arc of that relationship if you don't feel it yourself. The universe cannot buck your internal state. It cannot buck it. It cannot do something that denies it, right? It has to mirror it. That is the universe's main responsibility. This is this physical dimension that we manifested into. How it works is it has to mirror. It has to be a mirrored reflection of your internal state. So whatever you believe about yourself and whatever you expect and believe about the world around you is literally what the universe is going to mirror back to you. It's like a projector screen in a movie, right? So the movie you're watching on the screen, if you want to change that movie, you don't go up to the screen in the movie theater and try to change that. You go back to where the projector is and you change the tape that the projector is projecting onto the screen. Your life outside is the screen. Your internal state is the projector. And if you want to project something differently in your relationships, you've got to change what's on the projector. You've got to change the film that's on the projector. So, and again, it doesn't have to be this arduous, long task. I really do not believe, and it's been my own experience and my own journey. Healing does not have to take a very long time. It doesn't have to be arduous. It doesn't have to be complex. As a matter of fact, if it is arduous and complex, it's probably not the path for you, and it's definitely not healing. Healing can be simple. It may be challenging because it's going to make you face what you need to face and really change a way that you've been probably living your life all of your life. Just like with me, my near-death experience and the life-threatening diseases that were in my body made me stop everything and reevaluate my life and really look at, how I was vibrating, what my internal state was, and change how I was living and what I felt about myself and how I was treating myself and how I was showing up for my life. But doing that work transformed everything, right? I attract a whole different type of person today. Because the energy that I carry is that I'm enough and that I'm beautiful, right? I didn't used to carry that energy, and that energy manifest. Even though I used to get the type of people that I wanted, they never stayed. Now, not only can I attract who I want, but I have a lot of options and people wanting to stay. So, it's not that you can't. You deserve love. And by the way, life is trying to love you. Life is always loving you, but it has to perform its responsibility, which is to mirror, which is to reflect who you are. It has to be a reflection of who you are. And if who you are right now, if what you're offering right now is that you're not enough, then you're going to get a reflection of that. It's not that you're being punished. It's just a reflection. And you, just like in the mirror, if I see something in the mirror that I don't really care for, and I want something different, I want to see something different in the mirror, I don't go to the mirror and try to change what's in the mirror. I change what the mirror is reflecting. So change what the mirror is reflecting and you'll get a different reflection. It is absolutely possible. And the truth is, you are lovable. You are beautiful just as you are. There's nothing you need to change about you in order to be that. It's just that somehow and somewhere in your life, you've been made to believe that you're not enough. And that's the biggest lie that exists on the planet for anyone. And it's also the biggest disconnection. Is the thing that disconnects us from our soul, from the energy of our soul, from being a fully soul and body being on the planet, is when we start to believe we're not enough and there's something wrong with us, because that is the complete opposite of what the soul knows about us and how the soul feels about us. And so the soul has to be in a body that is in harmony with it. And if our body is saying we're not enough and there's something wrong with us, then it's not in harmony with the soul, and the soul can't fully inhabit a body like that. So that leads to a lot of illness as well. That's really where a lot of the illnesses show up in our lives, especially chronic illnesses and diseases. Usually at the core of that is some belief we're holding, and we've been holding for a long time, that we're not enough, that there's something wrong with us, and that we don't deserve to be loved just as we are. And that is utter bullshit. And it's not true. There's no truth in it, even though you may feel it. But it's just because it's been something you've been made to believe. And you can believe, this is the beautiful thing, you can believe anything you want to. And any belief you have currently can be changed to the opposite. And so if you believe you're unlovable, now's the time to believe you are lovable and that you're enough. And watch what happens when the more enough you begin to start to feel. Watch what happens. Watch what happens in the type of person that begins to show up, the type of relationships you start to manifest, the type of money that shows up. Like, feeling enough literally changes everything, because the more enough you feel, the more you have to manifest a life that affirms and reflects that. Literally. It's just really that simple. If I feel enough, if I really feel worthy enough and beautiful enough, smart enough, sexy enough, safe enough, then my life has to confirm that. It cannot buck it. It cannot, if I can't feel enough and feel truly beautiful and then manifest some things out here that are making me feel opposite of that. It doesn't happen like that, right? So I can't feel healthy and feel safe in my body and at ease in my body and manifest an illness, right? Because the illness makes me not feel safe in my body. It makes me not feel healthy. You have to have a mirrored reflection to what your internal state is. So it behooves you to do the work to heal your internal state, to begin to feel enough, to begin to feel beautiful, to begin to feel attractive and wanted just as you are. And then watch as you do it, just even if you do just a little bit, watch as it shifts and changes what shows up in your life and what shows up as your life. You deserve love. You deserve it just like you want it and in the abundance that you want it. And the universe wants to give it to you. It absolutely wants to give you what you want, and it absolutely wants you to have a beautiful, delicious experience in your relationships. But you got to give it the energy that allows that. You got to give it the energy that allows that. So I want to see if you all have any questions before I pop off. I see some of you all here, some comments. Kirsty says your state of being is your point of attraction. Yes, it absolutely is. Your state of being is your point of attraction. When you understand what the law of attraction, which is what, manifests, is responsible for what shows up in your life and manifests your life, what determines that, right? Your point of attraction is your state of being. It's your beliefs and your feelings, particularly your habitual feelings, like how you chronically emotionally feel, right? Thank you, Kirsty, saying I'm awesome. Thank you, Brittany, saying I'm awesome as well. I love you guys. I just hope these lives are helping you all. And as promised, I've got a lot of juicy stuff coming up for 2019. I've just kind of had to lay low a little bit because there's a lot of writing and tech stuff on my end that I'm having to do before that. But I promise you, when 2019 comes, there's a lot of good stuff out there, some online classes coming, some retreats coming, and a lot of other surprises. So stay tuned. Enjoy your weekend and know that you are enough. Write that on the mirror. I may do a live at one point so I can show you. I have it. I am a product of my own teachings. I don't just spit stuff out. I practice what I teach. I have it on my mirrors here at my house. I'll have to show you that at some point. But yeah, the better you feel about yourself, the better you will live. That is law, but you don't have to take my word for it. You have to prove it to yourself. Much love.